Oh, welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Mike Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter, and I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Balls on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man, hey, we are slowly but surely inching closer to the football season, inching closer to putting together a full show featuring Cousin Shane on camera. How you doing, brother?
We're getting there, man. I'm learning way too much about computers and shit. I'm up last night, and my wife's like, what are you doing? It's 11 o'clock at night. And I'm telling her, I'm trying to figure out what the difference between Dropbox Pro and Professional is and if it's worth the extra $10. She's like, just go to bed. It's Saturday, you know? We didn't even do a podcast. But I'm just trying to get everything squared away, and I think I got everything set up. I think there's no way I can mess this up, right? But then my camera starts doing this little battery thing, and I'm like, damn, did I charge the thing? You know? So, hey, what matters is the audio. I got it going, and we're like, you're going to hear some of these coaches talk about efficiency here in a minute. We're doing the same thing, man. I just burnt 3 of my timeouts here on this podcast, so we'll see how long this one goes. But Mike, other than that, I'm doing fantastic. Hey, it's game week. That's my favorite part, is the fact that we have football at the end of this week, brother. Come on now.
Yeah, and I was just going to talk about that. Of course, Vanderbilt going to Hawaii, but I did want to mention real quick, some of you may be confused. There might be 2 podcasts hitting your feed. We posted the Twitter Spaces we did Friday night, so that was a great time. Had a lot of interaction. Would have loved to see more of you guys jump on and ask us questions. So, again, we're going to try to do that every Friday. And it's a little, you know, it's the audio is not quite like a regular podcast because we're sitting there drinking. It's a little less buttoned up. I didn't know we could get less buttoned up than we are, Shane, but that Twitter Spaces was a good old time, didn't you think?
Twitter Spaces was great. You know, there was a couple of times I lost audio there. Yeah, it got pointed out. I started talking over a few folks, but I apologize for that. That's that East Tennessee internet, you know. Apparently there was a little rain that night, but Mike, the fact of the matter is, it was good interaction. It was fun talking to the fans.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of buzz about a lot of programs this year, and we just wanted to get your feedback. I'd love to see a few more universities, you know, chime in this weekend when we do it again on Friday. And so just set your alarm. We'll put out a post there, a little reminder, and hopefully we can catch more of you on this show.
Yeah, no doubt, Shane. And again, looking forward to Saturday night. Friday night's the Spaces. The next day, Saturday, we're going to have action, Shane. Vanderbilt at Hawaii. And we threw this up on the Twitter. I'll throw it up on the YouTube show if you missed it. But have you seen this stadium they're playing at? It literally holds 3,000 fans, and that's it. I mean, this is worse than Morristown West, their stadium. You know what I mean? So I forgot all about this, Shane. Hawaii's Aloha Stadium, that thing got condemned in 2020. They're building a new stadium, so they're basically we're going to have a nationally televised SEC team kicking off the season here at basically a high school stadium.
A lot of jokes, Mike. A lot of jokes online. I've heard everything from Vanderbilt's use to this, to, you know, comparison to high school stadiums. I've seen it all, Mike. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care where it's at. I remember a few years ago, they were doing a preseason football game, and it got canceled because of something with the turf. Do you remember that? The paint?
Yeah.
Or something like that. And I was just so disappointed because there was 4 high schools within walking distance of that campus. And I'm like, why can't we just play there? It does not matter where it's at, long as we got some college football on our TV. And that's the way I feel about this. I know it's funny, but, man, I don't care where it's at. It could be on the dark side of the moon. As long as we're playing college football, I'm going to watch every minute of it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, brother. And one little thing, another thing I wanted to mention, Shane, because you called attention to it, and I recommend, hey, we're going to plug another outlet here for just a second, but I was on the TexAgs radio show on Friday. That's how I just a little insight into the audience. Basically, Friday, that's my weekend. That's the only day I really have time to cut loose. The rest of the time, I'm working on this show. So Friday is officially my weekend. But I woke up early because they said, "Hey, can you do TexAgs 9 o'clock in the morning?" I said, "I'll be there. That's a big time show." And boy, I walked right into the damn buzzsaw there. Oh my God.
Oh man, I said, damn, Mike is up against the ropes. I wish I could have came in there and made a few jokes to give you some time to think about what was going on. But man, they were swinging, weren't they?
Yeah. So just go check that out. That was some pretty entertaining stuff. And hey, I didn't take any of it personally. I thought it was a great time. But basically, the boiler points, if anybody missed it, they were just completely bewildered that I said Sam Pittman better coach than Jimbo Fisher. So if you want to, rehash that argument, go check it out. But just wanted to plug it. I mean, that was a fun little interaction, I thought.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. And I mean, if that's all it takes right now, I mean, that's I think that says more about the program. There's a lot of SEC teams out there. They're just wanting to know, who the quarterback is. Is there a chance we make it to a bowl? And he's and being worried about another coach up north. That was during talking season. I mean, come on, you got other stuff to worry about. I love these little things. I love these little banters.
Right?
Because you're going to hear it throughout this podcast. These coaches coming up, mad at other coaches, things like that. I love that underlying story that storyline underneath these games, and I just think it makes it better, because, for instance, Texas A&M, the ones that really took maybe they hated the comments you made about Sam Pittman.
Right.
It's going to mean more to them when they play Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of them. They got saved clips, brother. They're ready to fire them off at you. You may want to get off Twitter if Texas A&M wins that game. But there's going to be a lot of deleting if they lose. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that's what makes college football so damn fun. It's these little storylines that are going on underneath the Jimbo and Texas A&M and Alabama, Kentucky and South Carolina, Tennessee and Missouri. These little coach stabs that we get, I think it makes it for better football. But us talking heads, we've made a lot of bold predictions too, and you better believe it makes it more important for our listeners when these games actually happen.
Yeah, and that's a perfect. Hey, we got a little teaser, Shane. Here, we're going to reveal a new sponsor here in the coming days, and perfect opportunity to put your money where your mouth is, so to speak, and wager on these games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right. I see what you did there. We do got this coming up, and it's going to be a personalized betting. Look into this thing. It's going to be absolutely awesome. We'll have some details rolling out later this week, but hey, I've made some bold statements. I've made some locks of the weeks. We're going to switch it to wagers of the week. But Mike, now I'm going to be able to put my money where my mouth is, and if you want to come at it, you can. So that's what I love about it.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll talk more about that later, Shane. We've got a ton to discuss here. So, hey, I don't know if you saw this, but the great Chris Lowe from ESPN, SEC Insider, wrote a post, I believe this was Saturday. According to his reporting, Shane, the SEC is close to going to a 9-game schedule here. Something that we debated for months and months, and there was the back and forth and, of course, the spring meetings, and they didn't make a determination on that. According to Chris Lowe, whatever teams were kind of on the fence there that really needed to push this thing from an 8-game conference schedule to the 9, it's going to happen, apparently, according to Chris Lowe. So just, we'll have all kinds of time to talk about pods and whose team should go in here and there. But, it's going to be the format that we were in favor of. 3 permanent games that you play every year.
Yeah.
And then the other 6, you rotate annually. And again, you're going to be able to go to play every single SEC team every other year. So, I mean, this is the format if we want a balanced and fair conference. And I've heard some people say, well, hell, this ain't going to be fair because sometimes, your team's going to have 5 SEC games, home games, and other years you're only going to have 4. But again, I think that makes it even more interesting because, hell, some people get tired of Alabama and Georgia dominating. What if this was a year they both had only 4 home games in conference play.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a wild card that we'd have to throw in there that maybe gives an edge to another team that has a chance to win that division title. You know what?
Mike, I think, I love the players, and I think they benefit from this, but this is more for fans, in my opinion. I want to go to these stadiums. I don't want to go down to Texas A&M every 15 years. I don't want to go to Arkansas every 15 years. I want to see these guys every other year or every fourth year. I have an opportunity to go to these different cathedrals and experience what these other fans get to. It's just bucket list for me, bucket list for a lot of these guys. So I think breaking up the normalcy of college football is not a bad idea. Football's been evolving since day one, and this is no different. And I think this is actually one of the few moves that I've seen the conference do that I think benefits everybody involved. And worst case scenario, man, you get one more SEC football game a year. You know what I'm saying? That's
right.
So yeah, knock off Mercer or knock off Southeast Louisiana Monroe. It doesn't matter, know who's playing. It's one more game that matters, and I think it's perfect, and I'm excited for it. I am interested to see the three rivalries. Unfortunately, we're out of list season, so we probably can't do a deep dive into that. I'm sure we've done a pod similar to it, but we'll bookmark it and hit it in February.
Yeah, we got football to discuss, Shane. And
that's right.
Speaking of that, let's kick it on down to Columbia real quick, where South Carolina, they had some kind of event there over the weekend, Shane. And, of course, we talked about it, Mark Stoops, and we'll even get to him in just a moment here. But, his comments of, the culture and you can't do it with the stupid sunglasses and all that. Well, Shane Beamer, it certainly seems like he's issuing his response to that. So check it out what old Shane Beamer had to say here.
But the culture is a hell of a lot higher and only getting stronger. We will see you in 2 weeks. Go Gamecocks.
All right, Shane. So, hey, again, South Carolina fans, this has got to get them fired up. And even, they're already on the Shane train. But anytime someone calls out your coach, your program, even if they pretend they didn't do it, a coach is just going to get more and more support within the fan base if they fire back like this, don't you think?
Yeah, and this is what I love, man, and I wish we saw. We used to do a segment, Tell the Truth Tuesday, and I wish you could give these guys truth serum. I wish they could come out and say, you know what, say what you want, man. Because look at Conor McGregor and Ultimate, UFC. The reason that his fights were so fun to watch was all the shit talking prior to the fight. And I think we should, the etiquette and all this BS that goes along with coach speak and stuff like that. I hate it.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate it. I wish these coaches could come out and say what they want. The fact of the matter is Coach Stoops took a shot at Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer, rebuttal, and later on they're going to act like, oh, well, that's not what we meant, whatever. But why cower from it? Talk about your true feelings, man. You're building something special down there in South Carolina. As a Kentucky fan, you've got something special up there in Lexington. You're not afraid of the Gamecocks. Say it. You know what I'm saying? Don't hide from it. And I think I wish the coaches could do that. I wish they could get, and I'm starting to see a little bit more of it with this younger generation of coaching. It's not the old heads like Saban anymore. It's these young guys. They fire off. How many times has Drinkwitz said something and he's like, damn, nobody was saying something like that 10 years ago. I love it because Lane Kiffin, they're just telling you the true feelings. And I love this, man. If you talk about firing up a fan base, they're going to need them when these two teams play.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say, Shane. Saturday, October 8th. If that was not already circled on your calendar, South Carolina at Kentucky.
Yes.
This is quickly becoming – we did must-watch TV last week. That's quickly rising up the boards now because of this back and forth. You know what?
Oh, yeah. We're going to keep reminding you until that game. So.
Well, let's kick it down to Lexington, Shane, because Mark Stoops had a rebuttal of his own saying, hey, this was not directed at Shane Beamer. How the hell are you connecting these dots? It don't make any
Where did
sense
that
in the
come?
world.
I wear sunglasses.
Mark, an interview you did with the SEC Network got a lot of attention. Some people thought you were talking about Coach Beamer in some of your remarks.
I'm glad you brought that up, John, because it had nothing to do with Shane Beamer. It had to do with me, what I did when I got here. I was the one that changed the helmets, and heck, I wore a blue-collar shirt in the meetings. I wore a hard hat. I did anything I could. You know what I mean? So I was talking about me. So it had nothing to do with Shane Beamer. I like Shane, and I have no business talking about anybody else. You know that. We went through this before. So I didn't. I really. That's just not my style. You know that. You've known me for 10 years. If I'm gonna, say something to somebody, I'll say it. But I wasn't talking about Shane at all. I didn't even know what people were talking about. So.
You hadn't seen the video of Shane?
I didn't. No.
All right, Jay, so you heard there from Mark Stoops. What the hell is he talking about? The hat?
I wore a hard hat back in 1985. You remember? That's the thing. That's the video I was referencing. Not the same video that came out during SEC Media Days when I made these statements. Not related at all. I was talking about something that happened 10 years ago.
We all remember the decade-old video of Stoops in a hard hat. You know what I mean? Like, come on, buddy.
Stoops hard hat. Blue collar. Yeah, that's blue collar comedy. That's what that is, Mike. I ain't buying that shit.
But, hey, in all seriousness, we do have a good clip here from Mark Stoops. Talks preseason recognition. Perfect answer, Shane. Hey, I don't want to be ranked at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I want to be ranked at the end of the year. So let's kick it over to Stoops for this one.
Mark, I know you've got your hands full, but you've never dismissed any national recognition your team gets. I mean, you're ranked in the top 25 in a lot of polls. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I'm glad for the team and for the fan base and all the hard work. But as you know, I mean, again, I've said this many times when we weren't ranked. I'd rather see where we're at the end of the year, right? And that's still the same. I want to be ranked much higher than we are right now at the end of the season. So it is what it is. I have no control over that stuff. And I like this team. I like the focus they have. We need to do some things better. We'll challenge them. We'll work on that. But overall, I like their mindset.
Now, Shay, one thing that could potentially hurt the Wildcats, though, of course, we talked a little bit about this on the Twitter Spaces, so we got to bring it up here. But according to Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio, Chris Rodriguez is going to be suspended 4 games. And, of course, that means he's going to miss the Florida game, that pivotal Florida game. How big a news is this in your mind?
I think anytime you've got a star player not playing, it's going to be – it's one less thing that Florida has to study on. That's one less player that the Gators have to have a game script for. So, I mean, he's a X factor, if you will. Now that Madden's out, you guys know what I'm talking about. This is a guy that can get heated up and can be dangerous. And I think, we can skate around it all we want, but it's an issue. And you're going to need all those weapons when you're playing the Florida Gators. I mean, you need them every year.
Right. But in fairness, I am looking at the schedule, Shane. I'm going to read you the first 4 for the Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Miami of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
At Florida.
Yeah.
Youngstown State.
Okay.
And Northern Illinois. So
what's after Northern Illinois?
Well, then they're really going to need them. At Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Mississippi State. So
I was just wondering, they used to be able to pick and choose games back in the day, didn't they? I mean,
well, they got the right 3 right off the deck here. Let me tell you, minus the Florida game.
Yeah, maybe they're just that confident. Like, we need you for Ole Miss. We don't need you for Florida. You hear that, Gators?
I mean, who knows? Maybe they're looking at it like, hell, Chris Rodriguez, he's completely fresh starting October 1. This may help him out, you know what?
Absolutely. Had to bring in the hammer. So, no, as long as he's not hammered, we'll be fine, Mike. Too soon? No, I think it's, like I said, I think it's a blow, but I think it's something they can get by. Mm-hmm. But, if they do drop this game, it's going to be hard not to look back and say, would it have been different if Rodriguez would have been in there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, certainly I think that's big. And even, I kind of kid, but his first game being on the road at Ole Miss, who knows, You know, where he is mentally, where he is physically, if he's have to sit out for a month. I mean, hell, they're not going to be hitting him in practice, I wouldn't think. So, you know, that's certainly something to consider, I think.
Yeah.
Now, next, Shane, let's kick it on down to old Rocky Top. Well, whoo, boy, Shane, it was revealed by our buddy, you like to call him Trey Schefter over there, Trey Wallace for Outkick. It turns out Southern Cal dragging their feet, Shane, with this Bru McCoy situation. That's why McCoy is not currently eligible. We'll get to Josh Heupel's comments here in a minute. I've already reached out to Trey. He's going to be joining the show on the next episode to kind of give us some insight into this situation. But, man, that's a damn shame, isn't it? Because last time I checked, Southern Cal, about half their team transferred in this offseason. So they're all about, hey, they got their arms wide open to transfers, but people transferring out. Let's make it as difficult as possible on them. And not a good look for Southern Cal. Shane, I don't know if you've seen it, but Tennessee Vol fans, they've got the number and the email of some of the administration up there, and they're being very public, letting that information out, saying, hey, give these people a call. Let's free Bru McCoy.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how this, because Coach Riley had talked to every player up there. He's talked to everyone that was transferring out. So, must have burned a couple bridges on the way out for them to be dragging their feet. But to say they ain't got time, Mike, if you got time to switch conferences, you've got time to sign a little form letting this kid play football in the University of Tennessee. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is stupid, and I think you should take notice. I think Lincoln, you forget, man. You got to scratch my back, scratch your back. There's going to be a lot of SEC players that are going to try to go to USC. Through the years, and they remember this stuff. Coaches talk. So I think this is a dumb. This should not have taken this long. And I do love Tennessee. One thing about Tennessee, man, they know how to stir it up. They know how to make some noise, and they're making some folks' lives miserable out there in Southern California right now. I guarantee it.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of mixing it up, being interesting, Shane, I don't know if you saw this right before we hopped on, but the transfer running back, Lynn J. Dixon, he's been with the team for about 2 weeks here, no longer on the team. So I don't know what the hell's going on there. I said when he was added to the roster, don't get too excited about this guy. I mean, I'm not trying to downgrade him, but he was pretty solid as a freshman. Pretty good as a sophomore, and then the last 2 years, basically nothing. I have no idea what the backstory is, but a guy on the team for 2 weeks, and now he's gone. I don't think this is – it hurts your depth, obviously. Tennessee's only got 4 scholarship running backs, but you may be better off without a guy like this,
Yeah, it's the same old, A couple weeks ago, I was talking about how excited I am this kid's on the team. Now I'm like, we didn't really need him, Now that I think about it, I think it was 5th on the depth chart. But, we need depth.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's a blow. We don't know the circumstances. But, if it's bad for the team or bad for the player, then maybe it's good that he does move on.
Yeah. And final thing, Shane, let's kick it over to Josh Heupel real quick, who – other than running back, he seems very happy with the depth and the speed where this roster is going into year 2 as opposed to last training camp. And he talks a little bit about this Bru McCoy situation, and he makes it very clear, hey, this ain't on us. This ain't on Tennessee. We're waiting for that paper to get signed, so to speak.
Yeah.
With him, how do you feel about your depth overall on both sides of the ball this year compared to a year ago this time?
Yeah, just in pure numbers. Athletic movement, skill sets, much deeper, in particular on the defensive side of the football. It's evident in some of the skill spots offensively too. Those young guys that are part of what I'm talking about still have to push and get themselves ready to go play on game day. There's some things that we got to clean up. Game day management, those guys operating, some of those guys on special teams, but feel like we are a much deeper football team than we were a year ago, and that's going to play out as you inevitably have some injuries during the season. But I think in particular on the defensive side of the football, you'll see more rotation and a lot of guys playing.
Josh, was wondering if you had an update on Bru McCoy and with that situation and with the season kind of getting closer and closer. How much of a heads up do y'all need for him to get into the game plan for the first game, knowing that you're uncertain right now?
Yeah, obviously, getting him prepared, being able to rep him, all of those things, you'd like that before you start your regular game plan week. You know what I mean? Essentially 7 days before kickoff. That's, best case scenario where you're able to work him and incorporate him and plan for what it's going to look like when we run out of the tunnel. Our administration's, done everything that they possibly can. They've been great throughout the entire process, from the very beginning, and they're still working as hard as they can to give him the opportunity to play.
And y'all still don't know when you might get an answer?
I don't have an answer on that. There's, some things that are out of my control, Bru's control, and our administration's control in this process, and everybody on our side is working as hard as they possibly can to make sure that we come to a resolution as quickly as possible and give a kid an opportunity to go play.
All right, Shane. Hey, but next we got a pair of teams here. A trio of teams here with a quarterback competition still ongoing, heating up there in Oxford. So let's kick it down there first, where Lane Kiffin. Interesting choice. He's not been sharing anything on this quarterback drama yet. Mm-hmm. Instead of meeting with the media after the scrimmage, he's like, let's do it before the scrimmage. So I'll tell you how important this is. I'll tell you, how big of a deal this is for these quarterbacks, and then just kind of keep you in the dark on how it went. So let's kick it over to Lane Kiffin, who previews the scrimmage over the weekend and talks about Luke Altmaier and how far he's come along in this offseason.
Tell me you have dinner plans without telling me you have dinner plans. Can we go ahead and do this early? Sounds like me in the pod, don't it?
Lane, I know you put a lot of importance on last Saturday's scrimmage. Just through this week, what are you kind of looking for in tomorrow's and kind of boxes you want checked?
Well, very similar. We're still in evaluation mode, and the next one after this really is more about situations and special teams rotations and stuff like that. So there's not really an evaluation in the one after this. So this is really big. I guess it would be like the last preseason game from an NFL model.
Coach, how close do you think you are to naming a starting quarterback?
It sounds dumb to say I don't know that, but I don't know. Some days it's very close. Some days you can think one, and some days you can think the other. So it'll happen when it happens.
One more quarterback question from me. What's been Luke Altmaier's biggest improvement from year one to year two?
Confidence, which is would be expected for someone coming from their true freshman year. And if you're a backup to a pretty elite player, you don't take a lot of leadership because you really can't. You're the backup, so that's a natural progression. But he's done a great job of that, and playing with a lot of confidence.
So, all right, Shane, I don't know about you, but again, I get no read on what the hell they're doing here in Oxford. And again, the schedule lines up well. I don't think it truly matters who starts week one. They're going to have that solved by the time Kentucky comes to town. But, man, Lane Kiffin is not giving us anything here, is he?
I tell you, Mike, the reason I'm so excited about week one, other than it's just college football, is so we can just stop asking these same questions over and over. I hate quarterback controversy. It's not controversy. It's just noise.
Right.
And 3/4 of the conversations that happen with Lane Kiffin or down there in LSU or down there in Texas A&M, it's the same, man. It's just fancy ways of asking the same question of who's the guy.
Right.
And I hate that because I feel like we get more from the other coaches. I don't know if you feel the same way, but when they go to a South Carolina and are talking to a Shane Beamer, I feel like we're getting a real pulse of the team here. We're not filling it up with BS trying to figure out who the starting quarterback is. Mm-hmm. You know damn well Lane Kiffin knows who the quarterback's going to be week one. But he's going to play this, and then he's going to act butthurt when somebody asks him a question. It's like, you're doing this. What advantage? Who they got week one?
Ole Miss, yeah, they got a pretty difficult road here, Shane, right out the gate. Ole Miss Rebels open at home against Troy before playing Central Arkansas week 2.
That makes sense, It ain't Brad Pitt coming over here, What is that, Achilles? This isn't that guy. This is Troy. We don't need to hide your quarterback, man. Just come out here, own it up. This is our guy. Get behind him and then build this roster up. Because I guarantee the reason he did this before, because if you watch the scrimmage, you'll see exactly who's getting most of the reps.
And I just figured it out. Shane Kiffin, he wanted to go down to the frat house and look for another punter. That's what it was all about.
That's it, man. He met a few guys down there, had a good time. He's doing a cake stand right after this thing, riding that dog around. I've seen that, man. That's what single dads do. They take their kid and a dog and see what happens at the park.
Yep.
Come on, Lane.
Exactly.
What are you doing?
All right, Shane. Next, let's kick it out on to Baton Rouge, where again they got another quarterback controversy of their own. I'm already on record. Hey, I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels. We said that a week ago, and nothing I've heard contradicts that. So I still think it's going to be Jaden Daniels. Sounds like Brian Kelly is very close to making that determination, but also says, kind of like we've reiterated, Shane, Garrett Nussmeier, very likely to play as well. He also talks about the experience, Jaden Daniels, and all that helps him in this competition. And then one other thing, Shane, we can't forget, LSU's got one hell of a defensive line, and that could be the difference between winning in the opener against Florida State in New Orleans. Brian Kelly seems very, very happy with his defensive line, so let's kick it over to him.
Ryan, just at quarterback, are you starting to see any separation, and what's going to be the kind of the plan heading into the next final week of camp and then game week?
Yeah, I think, it's pretty clear that it's Nussmeier and it's Daniels, and they just have more experience, than Walker Howard. Walker's done a great job, but I think, his situation now would be an emergency situation, and, can we redshirt him, right? That's kind of where we're at right now. So it's a two-man race, and it's extremely competitive. Jalen does some really good things. Obviously his ability to get the ball out of his hands quickly. It's not just a guy that runs. He threw the ball at a 65% completion ratio last year. Pushed the ball down the field very well today. Nuss made some really good plays as well. Unblocked edge player coming at him, gets the ball out of his hands. So this is going to be. Look, I wouldn't be surprised if they both get the opportunity to play at some time this year, but we're going to have to name a starter, and that's going to happen here pretty quickly.
When you look at Jaden and maybe his strengths, or where does it show through that he has started 3 seasons of college football already?
I would say probably management of the offense in terms of getting people lined up, getting the offense running smoothly, efficiently. And I think the guys feel a sense of calm when he's out there because he's done it before. He's getting guys lined up. There's a authority. I mean, the way he talks to the guys out there. We call it clap, which is clear, loud, as an order, and then there's a pause. The acronym clap. It's a military term. When they're asked for their leaders to talk, they use the acronym CLAP, and he's clear, he's loud, he talks like it's an order, and then there's always a pause so you can hear it, and I think that helps a lot because people know he's played, and when he's out there, guys really tune into him, and I think that's a comfort level.
Brian, we talked about defensive line a lot, and you feel comfortable. You seem like you feel comfortable with them. What have they done to make you get that comfort? And also, is it about what you expected or better than you expected?
Well, you've got 3 guys that I think are elite players: Mason Smith, Jay Roy, and Ali Gay. They're elite players. Then you add B.J. Ojolari, who can do multiple things for you. He can put his hand down, he can drop. So when you have a front that has 4 elite players, that's where it starts to allow you to do a lot of things up front and be creative. So Matt now has a great advantage because he can move those guys around and do a lot with them. So I just think to have 4 really good players like that, and then you've got a Mekhi Wingo who's been really good, and some really complementary pieces. We haven't talked a lot about Desmond Little. He's done a really nice job for us. Jacoby Gilroy's been really good, real solid for us. So depth is probably the other thing that makes you feel good about not only 4 elite players, but having some depth there as well.
All right, Shay. Hey, I don't know about you, but I appreciate some actual commentary on this quarterback competition, and it certainly still sounds to me like Jaden Daniels is the guy there.
Yeah, and what's funny, out of all of them, this is probably like the stiffest competition.
Yeah.
This is one that probably could go either way, and you've made mention, and I'm doubling down on myself. I guarantee we see both these quarterbacks this year. He's not going to settle. He's going to see who does better under pressure, but he just wants to make sure he's got the right guy out of the gate. So I love it. I felt like this was real, and I'll tell you this right now, man. He loves that front 4, don't he? I mean, he is in love. And I think that was the first thing when he got down there. You look over your roster and you're just like, oh, okay. You could control the defensive front, Mike. You could stay in a lot of ball games in the SEC.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, we cannot, we may be underrating LSU just because of how dynamic they are up front. And that will solve a lot of issues you got on your football team if you're strong on that line of scrimmage.
Absolutely. Make a team one-dimensional. Watch out, buddy.
Yeah. And final thing on LSU, Shane, a little bit of bad news potentially here. Running back John Emery, who missed last year due to academics, according to Brody Miller of The Athletic, is reporting right before we hopped on, John Emery is going to be suspended 2 games to open the season due to academics, but LSU is appealing it. So there's a chance he wins his appeal and he's able to play. And everything I'm hearing about John Emery, Shane, he's going to be a workhorse for this Brian Kelly offense. They really, really need John Emery on the field. I hope they get him in the opener.
Here's a guy that, it's like, now's the time. This is the season.
Yeah.
We keep putting like our potential breakouts. How many times we had him on the list? I really do, and I don't want to see him get in trouble for academics. Get out there, make your name, man. This is your time to showcase who you are because he is NFL talent.
Mm-hmm.
And if I just don't want to see him waste it and be on last chance you know.
Right. Well, last team that with a quarterback competition here, Shane. Let's jump on down to the Plains where they had a scrimmage over the weekend there at Auburn. Sounds like me, Shane, even though that Robbie Ashford, the transfer from Oregon, making a push for that job, it still sounds like this is TJ Finley's job. Bryan Harsin, very high on his returning starting quarterback. And Eric Casal, we don't have his clips, but the offensive coordinator also very, very high on TJ Finley over the weekend. Yeah. So let's kick it over to Harsin.
To kind of sit back and watch the video, what were your impressions of kind of the quarterbacks from the situation and stuff together?
Yeah, it was good. I thought we started slow. I don't know, it wasn't the quarterbacks. I just think we started slow from the offensive standpoint. And that's also a credit to our defense as well. It's not just, one side wasn't executing. I thought the defense did a good job in those red zone situations. That's where we started yesterday. But overall, what we're looking for from the quarterbacks is operation. And that's the biggest thing. I mean, I know everybody wants to see these guys go out there and just make plays, but you have to get the call from the sideline. You got to communicate it. You got to operate, and that's the most important thing right now is what we're looking for. And they did that, so they did a good job with that. Then they made plays. So probably that third series, fourth series, it started to pick up. Tempo picked up. Execution picked up. And I thought TJ did some really good things in the scrimmage as far as just managing the clock and the situations and making sure that we didn't have to call timeouts. So he has a really good awareness on the field. I thought Robbie made some plays, just standing in the pocket and throwing. He made some plays with his feet and getting out and scrambling and making a few throws. Zach did a nice job as well. He moved the chains and scored touchdowns. So all 3 guys, Holden didn't get a ton of reps in the scrimmage, but those 3 guys mainly, they all did some positive things that we needed to see from them.
We talked to Coach Kiesel yesterday, asked him about charting the quarterbacks, you said it's different than what you guys did last fall compared to what you're doing now. A lot of that's because it's a 3-man race. The battle is different. What maybe went into maybe how you're charting these guys here in fall, how you're grading them on a daily basis compared to last year, and how do you think it's going so far in terms of helping you determine who that guy's going to be?
Sure. Well, last year was different with Bo. That was a little bit different because I think that was a little bit more solidified early on. And this is more of the way that I've always kind of charted the guys and have done it for a long time like that. It's really everything, right? It's every meeting. That's one of the things too. Just at the quarterback position, right? Every meeting. All right, our guys early. They got the notebooks out. Are they ready to go? It's this whole just pro approach is what it is, and you can tell who your quarterback is when you walk into a room. I think that guy's sitting down. He's got his notebook out. He's locked in. He's dialed. He sits in the meeting room and he pays attention. He knows the answers. He's flowing with the coach. He's one of the first guys out there on the field. He's getting warmed up. He's got command of what's going on. So just every single thing, because you think about in that room, there's myself. I played quarterback. Coach Keesaw played quarterback. Mike Hartline played quarterback in there. So you got 3 guys in that room, that have been around the quarterback position for a while. Then our players, you're trying to help these guys not just what they're doing physically, but how to play the position and what it takes. So every single thing, every single day, evaluate it, and then it kind of just starts back over again. All right, now here's where you are. What are you going to do today? And we just keep resetting goals because when we get out there, it's not going to be easy for them, right? We hope practice is really hard every single day. I hope it's harder than the game, but when they get on the field there, things are going to happen. It happened in the scrimmage, right? You think one thing's going to go a certain way, and all of a sudden, bang, in 2 drives, it's not going that way. Well, how do you respond? What are you going to do? And I think all those guys have done a good job. Heck, today Holden. Holden hasn't got a ton of reps. Holden comes out there today and he's firing the ball better than all of them, in my opinion. So we're trying to do these drills, and then all of a sudden, Holden just comes out of nowhere, and he's one of the best throwers that I've coached, and he's getting some things figured out fundamentally. So all of a sudden now you're sitting there going, okay, where's this guy been? And he's just young, but now it's sometimes you have those moments where it's like, okay, I'm ready. And I don't know when that's going to be for a young player, but Holden's starting to come on now, and he's not going to get those same amount of reps, but here's a guy that's building, and so that's going to carry over into the season. And then who knows what happens? If he keeps advancing and growing and developing, then there's a guy that can spin it. A guy that we thought would be a good player for us. But those guys, every day they walk in the building, they're being evaluated. All eyes are on them, and that's just how we do it. That might be not how everybody does it. That's just how we do it and what we feel like is important for us, because that's how our quarterbacks are going to be trained. They're going to be trained like pros, and you want them to act like that. So, there's a lot of responsibility that way.
Ryan, can you talk specifically with Tate? That's a guy who doesn't have as many reps as some of the other guys on the offensive line.
Where have you seen growth and development in TJ Finley since the end of last season?
Yeah, maturity. I really do. I think he's, I'll say this. TJ's got a coach's mentality. He sees things out there, and that's just not everybody conceptually picks things up very quickly. It takes a little bit of time, and he's got that mentality, and that's just some guys have it. It takes some time for others. You'll figure it out, but we all know we're all good at something, and sometimes guys are really good at football and just kind of just seeing it. And a couple examples in the scrimmage, right? He sees, we get the play in late. The clock's winding down. It's going to be a timeout situation. Well, he's getting everybody lined up and getting the snap count to what it needs to be so we can get the play off and then executing the play. So it's not a panic. He's just doing it with urgency and gets everybody lined up, and then bang, we convert a 3rd down and 9. So, those are things to me that I think he does a really good job of. Physically, all of our, all the quarterbacks, right? You're always talking about
everybody. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, Shane. Hey, nothing I heard there. I don't know about you, but nothing I heard there leads me to believe that it's going to be anyone other than TJ Finley when the Auburn Tigers take the field this fall.
I just think it's kind of funny. He's like, the 3rd string quarterback did a little something. It's like, don't go down that road. I get enough of that from Lane Kiffin and his side bets. This to me, Mike, felt like locker room talk. I don't know if you got that same vibe. This this felt like, man, we got some young players on this team that are having trouble maybe seeing what's expected of them. And I don't know if I'm just reading too far into this, but it kind of felt like, this is what you got to do to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't come in unprepared. Be prepared, over prepared,
Right.
so that you can focus on the fine details, because that's what wins SEC football games, are those fundamental mistakes that you made that could have been erased if you would have spent more time at film on a Saturday night, or if you would have spent more time in your playbook on a Tuesday morning when you should have been, but instead you're playing your PlayStation,
Right.
I think that's kind of what I'm getting here. And it felt too like the coaching staff. Guys, we have got to, Auburn's under the gun, man. This isn't the best Auburn product you've ever seen. Okay, this ain't your Papaw's Tigers, but I will tell you, Mike, if they could come out and not make stupid mistakes that some of these SEC teams are going to make, they could surprise a few opponents. And I think that's the message here. Is like, let's be over prepared. Let's be let's be ready when the kickoff happens, because if we're more prepared, we may not have as much talent, but we can win the game if we can capitalize on their mistakes.
Right. And I mean, case in point, running out of bounds in the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Alabama, no damn timeouts, basically would have iced the game. So
absolutely
no need to rehash that. But I think you make the perfect point, Shane, because Auburn's got talent. Again, we may think they're the number 7 in the West. That means they're probably 25, 30 in the country. This is not a roster devoid of talent, but to beat the teams ahead of them, they cannot beat themselves. They have to eliminate those mental errors, have to eliminate penalties, have to eliminate turnovers. If they can do that, they are going to surprise a lot of people this fall. This is a team that beat A&M. They beat Arkansas.
Yeah.
This is not a joke of a team. They have it in them to surprise, but again, cannot beat themselves. They just don't have the roster to do that right now.
Exactly, and that's what he says over and over. This just felt real. It felt like this is locker room talk,
Mhm.
and and this is something that you need your leaders on the team to step up and do too. You think of the all-time great SEC teams. Well, they've got coaches out there every day on the field. There's a coach, either the quarterback or a middle linebacker or a safety. There's seniority on that team that steps up and takes over. And my camera just died. Man, Mike, we were so close.
Yeah, it's
so
all right.
damn
It's all
close.
All right, last team, Shane. Let's kick it all down to Fayetteville, where old Sam Pittman recapped the final scrimmage there for the Razorbacks. And, ooh, boy, if you missed it on the spaces, Shane, my bold take, KJ Jefferson winning the Heisman, and nothing Sam Pittman says here is backing me off that ledge.
What's your thoughts on KJ's play and Malik too, just quarterbacks in general after KJ?
I can't remember. Kyle, help me here. I can't remember an interception. I don't think we had an interception. The things that we had, we had some balls on the ground as far as the snaps. But I thought KJ controlled the offense. He's your leading rusher on the team, and you never run him in camp. You know what I mean? Now, he's doing his reads, and he can run. If anybody's even halfway close to him, the play's dead and all that. I think you're going to see a much different offense. What I'm excited about is he can throw and we can catch. And we're still, when we hand the ball off, we're still having success. And he's just getting better all the time. He really is, and I know probably all say that, but he's getting better. He's throwing the ball better. He's taking care of the ball, and everybody on the field knows that he's the guy. And so I've been really proud of him. He's night and day from what he was confidence-wise a year ago at this time. We really didn't know what we had, to be honest with you, Trey. Going into the Rice game last year, but we do this year.
KJ said yesterday he wanted to work on getting the ball out quicker. Did you feel like he had success with that today? And then how have you seen his accuracy improve?
Yeah, he's done that all spring, all fall, excuse me. And I think getting the ball out of your hands quicker has everything to do with knowing where to go to the ball pre-snap and going with the ball, whereas reads are much faster. If one's covered, I'm going there, but I don't know. You'd have to ask him, but I think a lot of times it was, I'm going to go to one read, and if it's not open, I'm going to find Burks, which has worked out pretty good, but this year I think he understands coverages and the looks and all that. Therefore, he's getting the ball. And he's got a quicker release, but I think that's why he's throwing the ball faster. Fortin had to play the day today when he threw one, I don't know, kind of sidearm through.
First week of August, 2 weeks from today, you play Cincinnati. Are the receivers, did you ever think that the receivers would be where they're at today when you first started in August?
No. I mean, no. And that's a lot to do with their coaching, with Coach Guyton, but also has a lot to do with them, too. You can't just say, well, we went in the portal and we got Landers and Hazelwood because Jaden Wilson's better. Now, he's beat up right now, too, but Jaden Wilson's better. Warren Thompson is a lot better than what he was last year, and Keytron Jackson. So the strength coach and the way that they prepare, and just the kids who they are. But I never would have thought Warren Thompson would be the player that he is right now from a year ago, but that's credit to him. No, to answer your question, but
Before you at the cornerback position, I know it's corners,
Cam Little.
Yeah.
He said he'd like to increase his accuracy rate to maybe plus 90, and thinks if he hadn't kicking into a headwind, he get range maybe 56 yards, expand that a little bit. What kind of camp has he seen, and how do you, as good as he was last year, how could he possibly be in ways to be better?
well, I guess he can make 24 out of 24. That'd be better than 20 out of 24. What's 20 out of 24? 83.3%? Huh? That's just Grove education, baby. 6 years of PE degree. That's 6 years of professional PE degree at Pitt State.
Here I was talking about Bryan being efficient, not messing up. My camera's like, just, you know what? I've had enough today. I've had enough of your fat ass. I'm going to take a nap. We'll try again tomorrow.
All right, Shane. So, say it, Pittman. He's even got jokes here, but he seems confident. He seems not worried about some of the perceived issues we thought about this Arkansas Razorback. Not only are they, again, we're basically hammering home the same point every Arkansas bit, but it just seems like this is going to be one hell of a season potentially for the Razorbacks.
Yeah, setting it up, but you got to be careful. I know. I love the truth serum. I love the being real, but you're setting a bar, and there are high expectations, but I think that's what you want.
Yeah.
With being a Razorback, with being Coach Pittman, and what you've built over there, you need to come out with a little bit of that swagger because teams notice. Alabama notices, Texas A&M notices, Georgia notices. These higher programs, they know when they go against the Arkansas Razorbacks, if they're ill prepared, they may be in for a long Saturday. So I love that, and I love how it's just good news all the way around, and it's scary if you're a gambler because it's tougher and tougher to bet on these guys because the spreads keep getting wider. But I will say, if you're a Razorback fan, you've got to be very pumped by the encouraging words Coach Pittman has.
Yeah, and one of the best opening weekend games here. Two ranked teams, Cincinnati coming to town. Cannot wait to see some Arkansas Razorbacks. I don't know about you.
Yeah, me either, man. I'm ready. I'm just ready for any football. I'm telling you, I've been playing Madden. I've been watching, anything and everything football related. I'm in it, so I love it, man. And as a Razorback, you're just sitting on your hands. You can't wait to see your product. Right. That's for sure. I think there's a lot of folks that think they've really got a shot, myself included, to compete in the West, to maybe even make an SEC championship,
right?
But you keep waiting for that but. or that if, and you're not getting it this year. And I just love it. And Sam Pittman doubling down on it, man, I just love the confidence my head coach has here.
Yeah. Well, hey, brother, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the show. That's all I got. You got anything before we hop off the line?
No. Again, don't forget Spaces coming up. We've decided on Friday Night Lights. That's LITES. And we're looking forward to having you guys on. But we got some pretty exciting things rolling out this week. So keep tuning in. We'll keep you posted on that. And when it's open to the public, we'll, for you little gamblers out there, you know who you are. Shane's he's come out here with these hot takes and bold takes, but now I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is. So I'm excited about that in the next chapter of SEC Football Podcast.
Well, I appreciate you, as always, joining me, Shane. We almost made it the whole way through with the video. Cannot believe how close we came. I appreciate the effort. I really do. And I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out. So we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols. I think tomorrow's the day, Mike. I think tomorrow is the day I put it all together.